more analysis on all of these developments. I'm joined in studio by Sami-Al-Arian. He's the director of the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Sabahat Zaim University. Thanks as always for coming in. I'm just going to start with a question I think so many people are now wondering. Are we on the brink of an all-out war in the Middle East?
It's going to be an all-out war between Iran and Israel. I'm not sure about the other parties. There doesn't seem to be any other party who's interested in joining this. And this is obviously a fight, but Iran and Israel, they have thousands of kilometers away, so there will not be ground war. So it would be basically an air war, a missile war, but it's going to be an all-out war between the two.
What do you expect the retaliation from Iran to now look like? They do seem, just even according to our correspondent there, to have been caught off guard. However, we know Israel has been preparing for this for a long time.
I think there has been a campaign of deception on the part of the United States and Israel. Perhaps no one expected that they would have been targeted in terms of the military officers, the command and control centers. But certainly people expected that their nuclear facilities and nuclear sites would be bombed or would be targeted. So what we see today is just the first salvo. This is the first bullet that Israel did, and it's not the last. So what happens is Iran is going to retaliate hard at that, and I believe that this is going to go on for a while. Let's remember back in 2003, there was a campaign called Shock and Awe. It was an American campaign against Saddam Hussein's regime. It was 10 times as fierce as this one is, and yet the United States was not able to extricate itself or declare victory, and it had to withdraw with lots of treasure and blood in between. So it's not what happens today, it's what's going to happen in the near future and in the distant future, whether Iran will surrender. Israel wants to be the hegemon in the region. It was to establish its hegemony not only over Iran, but over the whole region. And I think this is a tall order. I don't think it will be allowed or it will be able to do that, particularly that Iran is very intent not to surrender its sovereignty and not to be subjected to the conditions that Israel and the United States are supposed to impose on it.
And of course, you talk about 2003. The US went into Iraq because of these alleged weapons of mass destruction, which we know they never found. Israel has attacked Iran because of their belief that they will develop a nuclear weapon. We know that Israel has been planning this for a while, but did they have more of that impetus to actually go ahead with that strike because of what happened on Thursday with the UN nuclear watchdog passing this resolution? And then, of course, we know there must have been some sort of go-ahead from the United States.
The IAEA is just a political tool that's used whenever they want. They have these international institutions. They use them whenever they think they can get away with whatever crime they're trying to commit. Let's remember that the ICC and the ICJ both said that Israel is on the brink of having a genocide. That was like a year and a half ago. And then they issued indictments against Netanyahu, and they've been sanctioned. You know, they didn't care about these international institutions. Now, this IAEA, in which it says that Iran was not in compliance, is the same organization that's turning its eyes against the actual state in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons, which is Israel. And it's actually giving it some information about what's going on. So these have no credibility.
Why is Israel, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's a question I've been wondering. Why is Israel allowed to have nuclear weapons or have any sort of nuclear development while Iran is not? Because
mainly of the United States and the international community that does not sanction it. Back in 1995, when they were trying to get every country to sign on the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, Israel was exempted, along with India and Pakistan at the time. 2 years later, India and Pakistan, or 3 years later, were declared as nuclear states. Israel was never declared a nuclear state. It was given an exemption, even though the United States at the time gave the promise that Israel will join. 30 years later, nothing. But going back to your question, Netanyahu has been saying for 28 years that Iran was on the brink of having a nuclear weapon. That never materialized. And they are using the same tactic, the same deceptive maneuvers, the same deceptive rhetoric in order to attack Iran, the same they did with Saddam back in 2003. So no one really believes them anymore. The United States is part and parcel of this attack. It was a deception or a deceptive campaign by Trump and Netanyahu in order to lure Iran into this situation. I don't think it's going to succeed. I don't think Iran is going back now to any kind of negotiations. They know that this is farce, that this is not true. And I think there is a huge danger. I mean, there is a real danger here that Iran may actually withdraw from the NPT. So whatever they had in mind, it may not materialize. Iran has 400 kilograms of fissile material that's been enriched up to 60%. Going from 60 to 90 is not that difficult. So this is going to be a real problem. But the question here, whether Iran is going to surrender or not, they are hoping, Trump is hoping, Netanyahu is hoping, the right-wing cabinet, Israeli cabinet, is hoping that somehow Iran will surrender. I don't think that's the case. So they're changing their goal from trying to curb the Iranian nuclear program into regime change. Would they succeed in having regime change? They couldn't even change the Houthis. I don't think they'll be able to change the Iranians.
Yeah, this is just the start of what is going to be a long-term campaign. Sami-Al-Arian, thank you so much. I know you're with us for the rest of the afternoon. Appreciate your time.